Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the next installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast where I talk to whoever I want to because I can, because this is America, or the internet, whatever you prefer. I don't care. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about the show's title sponsor. Yes, I said title sponsor because it makes them sound even fancier. That's Go Fast Don't Suck. So go check out Bill at gofastdon'tsuck.net. Go get your hilarious memes because you love to make people feel bad because it's true. Match jerseys, banners like behind me because we all got to have cool banners at matches. Dry fire decals, hats, stickers, hoodies, because everyone forgets about the hoodies because it's getting cold now. You need a hoodie. But go check out gofastdon'tsuck.net. Tell them Manny sent you and move on with your day. But without further ado, let's get today's guest. Today's guest is Mr. Nick Gross. Nick, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, doing good.
It is good to have you on. We've been chit-chatting for a while, and we finally made this one work.
Yeah, how long have we been trying to get on? I mean, we've been talking since July.
Yeah, something about there after your brother from another mother. I met the brother from another mother.
Oh, you met my pimp.
Yeah.
Camden.
Yeah. Mr. Camden Lee, the C-class legend.
Yeah. You mean B-class in disguise?
Oh, yeah, there you go. He'll never live that down. He's always the C-class legend, though.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Even when he's going to be a GM, he'll still be the C-class legend.
Oh, we should start a pool. If he gets it, we should get him drunk or something, get a tattoo or something. C-class for life, GM for thugs or something, like something clever.
Ooh, that sounds legit. I'd put money in on that.
Yeah, I bet we can get a GoFundMe going.
It's not that hard. I mean, people put more money in for stupider shit, so.
Yeah.
But so Nick, we brought you on. Some people might know who you are, but some people might not know who you are. So Nick, who are you and how did you get into shooting?
Yeah, well, I'm Nick Gross. So there's the first door we walked through. But who am I? I am, well, wow, there's so many things I am. But long story short, I'm a guy that's making his own automation for Dillon reloading presses, pretty much anybody's products out there. And I'm kind of just looking at the way people reload in their homes and find another way to do it. And kind of how do you do it affordably and kind of make the best product for the consumer out there. From a shooting point of view, I've been shooting for, 15 years now. So kind of started out in competitive clays and kind of jumped from there to 3-gun and kind of did 3-gun all through college, and then realized 3-gun was really expensive about halfway through college and decided to switch to USPSA and just kind of rolled from there and just been hooked ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of run and gun is my thing.
Yeah. And you're primarily a PCC shooter, correct?
Yeah. I have a weird issue with my hands. It's called trigger finger, ironically, but my hands naturally lock up. So this is like my closed fist. So holding a pistol is really difficult and a little unsafe at some times. So holding a carbine is the best way for me to compete.
Right on. And you happen to be not a slouch, but you call yourself a paper GM.
Yeah, I'm a paper GM now. It's funny about the GM track when you like pick the year you're going to do it, and you just take the whole road and you practice and you train and you go to big matches and you find the right people to kind of grow with and people that are going to push you, and then you make it and then you go and compete with it. And the next year you either keep continuing or you find another passion. Mine happens to be the automation, and you kind of fall off that wagon of training and kind of the religion of being a GM. So, but that's kind of, today after about 4 years being a GM, I would say I'm probably shooting more about an A class to M class. If I show up and I've actually practiced, I could probably apply a GM finish, but I'm not going to call myself a GM in the company of others.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, when you were working on being a GM, was automation part of your your shooting routine, or did that come after making GM?
I came afterwards, kind of during that rise. I had the press. I had my own load that was working, and I kind of just was pushing rounds out, and I was spending 2 to 3 nights a week at the range, and then every weekend I'd be doing single or double matches. So I did that for the whole year, surprised my wife didn't divorce me in the process.
It's because you make good money. That's why not she didn't.
Yeah, no, it's because she worked nights. We flip flop schedules.
Oh, there you go. Even better, right? So it's like, well,
Yeah.
you're gone. So what gives a shit?
But no, the automation kind of. So my background from a professional point of view is I'm a classically trained mechanical engineer with an emphasis in design analysis. So my day job is doing automation and production equipment. So I'm an OEM for a lot of companies, or I was. Now I'm owned by a certain company. But my day job was doing automation, solving problems, and I would come home and I'd be reloading to go practice, and I was like, man, this case feeder sucks, or I don't want to spend this money on a bullet feeder. Why don't I just make my own? This is something I've seen before, done before. So I kind of just took that route, kind of started just tinkering with it, and had a working prototype within a week, and it kind of just took off from there. So kind of did that, and then kind of started shifting. The next question was, maybe I could automate the press. Maybe I could automate this and that. I wonder if I could 3D print this whole automation instead of, buying machinings, because machinings are expensive. And it kind of just segued into that. And now we're kind of at the point now where there's nothing really 3D printed on it. It's all machinings.
Right. Well, yeah, nowadays, if you think about it, kind of gone full circle. You prototype in your 3D prints, and then you're able to make something enough to work, and then you get some guy to machine it for you, right?
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And I could understand not, thinking that the press sucks, because, all of them always have issues, right? Like, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? It's either the bullet feeder or the case feeder being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Or it's $600 to buy a bullet feeder now.
God, is it $600? I don't even look.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, I gotta say, it's like $575 or something.
It's hilarious. You'll love this then. So I studied 3D printing for my master's at school, so that's how much of a nerd I am. But I was trying to convince my wife that, hey, don't jump down my throat when we buy the 3D printer. And I'm like, hey, I could buy a bullet feeder for more than me just 3D printing one of these. And I'm like, babe, I could 3D print one and buy the printer and still be cheaper than buying a bullet feeder. And this is back when they were cheap, like $2.99.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, haha, I got a magic trick for you. I already bought the printer. And so, that's kind of how it all started. And then from there, I kind of started posting or showing local people. And then like, hey, I would like one of those. And bada bing, bada boom, I'm doing bullet feeders and then case feeders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're pretty legit. If anyone actually wants to creep, if you watch the YouTube version of this, you'll see there's machines behind Nick, and they're pretty cool how he designs his.
I guess you get closer.
I mean, you could walk over there, no pressure or anything.
I mean, it's not like doing a break. This is Zoom, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
you may turn the lights on.
I mean, we all look better with our lights off, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So this is the latest generation, is what I'll call. This is what Camden's actually going to start selling and peddling, but it's predominantly all aluminum with a polycarbonate shell with some 3D printed parts that are easy to make. And this is 9mm. I have a bigger version I use for case fitting, but predominantly that's the design. I have one on 1100, just kind of sitting there waiting to go. But that's kind of the case for your bullet feeders, and those are pretty bulletproof at the moment. But that's how this all started, I guess is the right way to put it. That was the first project that kind of got me a little exposure to the world, and kind of people going, oh shit, you're not just crazy.
Right. Exactly. And that's usually what everyone wants at first, right? They want a bullet feeder, because who wants to place a bullet every time,
Yeah.
Sorry. I still don't understand how people load on a 550. You got to put the case in and the bullet in. It's like, oh no. And you got to spin the dial.
I've seen there's a gentleman by the name of Reese Reloading that does everything on a 550. He does like some really cool YouTube time lapses. But he like you watch the guys that do it like for pistol, and you're just like, your brain just like, what in the world are you doing?
Exactly. It's like, if you're not cranking that handle, you ain't making shit.
We'll see all the precision shooters. I could see a 550 being the game. I mean, it's kind of it's that single stage feel. If you're doing precision ammo, I could see that real quick.
Yeah, like like my neighbor literally right next door is a big PRS shooter, and that's what he loads on. He loads on a 550, but that's because he doesn't use a powder measure. He's got the funnel system, so he trickles it out somewhere else, and then he drops it in. But so I can understand it's it's the modern turret press, if I guess, or like a single stage, which is it's okay, I guess. But I mean, when you're only making 200 rounds in like a long sit down session, I mean I guess it's warranted. But
yeah, I guess it's desired goal. You'd be amazed how I should start keeping it. I should just keep when I launch the website. Oh, I should have said that. But when I launch the website, you can post it.
yeah,
I should keep account of people that have asked me things. Like I've gotten asked to automate a 550. I got asked to automate a 450. I had someone the other day asking me to automate the Dylan their 50 caliber system, and I'm just like sitting there in the back. I mean, so just disclaimer, anybody that's listening, if it's a manual index, I'm not automating it because it's a safety concern. You could have your hand in the machine really easily.
yeah,
So.
yeah. I would just like, well, it's like, how would you even from a? I'm not an engineer, but I would think that'd be difficult to engineer or figure it out, right? Because then it's going to move it for you. But
Yeah, but at that point, just buy a 750. I mean, think about this. What's the price difference? I mean, they're $200 price difference. I'm easily going to bill you more than 200 just to put an indexing control system on them.
right, exactly. Yeah, go buy a 750.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you back to shooting a little bit, did you ever take any classes from shooting?
Not really. So this is, I would say, I would back. The weird thing for me is I worked for Winchester Ammo at one time as an engineer, so I got to go travel a lot with them. I would go so there's a lot of the professional classes where Winchester would sponsor the ammo. So I would be the resident nerd that would be there watching. So I would get to shoot for free, or I go for the hunt for free, and just kind of be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, from a practice point of view, for me, shooting is more about the process than it is about the actual, hammer down engaging. It's more about how do you prepare your kid, how do you prepare yourself, how do you prepare, and how do you get there, what type of training regimen. So for me, the fun has always been I'll go shoot a match and I'll realize there's things I need to work on. Like my reloads are great, but that shot after the reload was pitiful. So what are we gonna do this week? We're gonna work on that, and then some moving drills that we normally do. So I have an Excel document where I just kind of have everything scrolling, where I'll kind of have things I'll check box. So I have a list of 5 things I'll practice during a training session, and I'll pull from 5 to 6 different groups of things I know I'm not deficient on, and that kind of keeps me honest. So
right, it's a good way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, but yeah. So I'm assuming it's an AR9 platform, like a Glock style mag fed.
Yep. I actually I have an MBX Precision, so that's easily I stopped counting the round count, but the serial number on it is 53. So I've run a lot of rounds through it. But for me, my other side of this, I like connecting with people. So I'll go shoot a match, or I'll go do a practice session with someone, and go. That'll be fun for me to go spend like a weekend or an afternoon. We lived in the same state. I bet you and I would go hang out quite a bit at the range. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of there's things, me being a PCC and you being an open guy, that are an open guy in the making.
Yeah, exactly.
That you could teach me from a gun manipulation on target time, since your gun's more nimble. And there's things maybe I could teach you just from the fact that I don't have to reload and checking. But those are things. That's the fun part for me. Right. I would probably like to do a class eventually. It just comes down to a matter of what's the reward or what's the payback from doing that.
Right, exactly. There's got to be a good ROI, just like in anything. It's like all the time you invest into, engineering and designing these automations. You've got to get some form of return out of it, or it's not worth it. Might even be monetary or gray matter pulsating and like getting all nerd happy.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I'll sat at a meeting and someone's telling me about their problem at work, and I'm just thinking about, oh shit, I could do this bearing for the loader. Oh yeah, I should be thinking about this, not that. Bad brain.
Right, exactly.
It's okay. Stay on the subject.
But that's why you have like conference calls at work, and they don't have webcams, so you can just play on your phone or writing or doing whatever on the other screen. And be like, oh, they don't know shit.
Yeah,
that's me.
It's great. I think you're better at your work job if your passions and your work kind of overlap a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to be where I am now, and you just rather do your passion than your work job. But
yet we don't want to leave the day job because it's good. It's bankroll.
Yeah, and then there's a launching ramp for that. There's some there's some things that I won't be able to do on my own yet. Like I would have to go, invade like another country to get the capital. I would need to do some of the things that I have the ability to do with my current firm.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's no good to do that. We don't need to start World War IV over capital for automation of presses.
that would be cool. I mean, there'd be a lot of ROI for automated presses at that point. Just gonna put that out there.
Oh, that is true. That is true. So, yeah, if anyone didn't know, you are a resident of Area 3, right?
Yep.
And you've been working and shooting that match for how long?
God, I've been shooting and working for 5 years.
Yeah. What
So,
made you want to start working and shooting that match?
well, I mean, so I'm from Area 3, but the big thing the thing I liked about it was at the time I was just start shoot people like it's this giant gimmick match.
Mm-hmm.
And shooting Three Gun Nation and kind of doing more of the very serious, the people that are very serious about their props, where it's you're shooting from a roof or here's a car, get out of it and shoot. I kind of like the idea of this is more, it's more of an obstacle course. There's a different way to look at things and then push. The other
Mm-hmm.
side of it, it lets me when I go to work it, we're on the road. We'll start on Wednesday and we don't get back until maybe Sunday or Monday morning. So from that time onwards, my work laptop's turned off. My I'm very unreachable. Um, it's kind of my getaway in my oasis.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I have a customer in Nebraska I used to go visit that was in Lincoln. So I could maybe pay for the trip from the travel.
Right. Exactly. It's usually how it goes. But yeah, I definitely understand that when you get the work phone turned off, no emails. And
Yeah.
that auto reply of out of office is just fantastic. And tell them
Yeah.
to pound sand.
You'll laugh though. I had a customer that worked for the U.S. government in 2012, no 2020, sorry, and they called me directly on my personal, and I was shooting. Like I wasn't shooting, but I was in the process, and you could hear gunfire in the back, and the guy's like, "Nicholas, is that gunfire?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where are you at?" "Where there's gunfire." And I was just being a smart ass he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Shooting." It's like I'm playing one word answers because it's just fucking funny at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, "Well, I'll get back to you at a better time." So I get back to him, and then I get in the office next week, and they were boots down at our facility anyways. And he's like, "I was worried. I thought we were going to have the Air Force fly over and check on you." And I was like, "Yeah, you don't give two fucks about me, but yeah." They
That's
just
why.
want their fucking jet engines.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't. That's why no one at my work. The only person at my work who has my phone number is my boss. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like none of you else get this phone number. But that's like one of those last ditch efforts if you got to get a hold of me. But
But
that's it.
so I would do Area 3, Area 4, and then I would try to kind of push to a couple other level twos.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would budget for 2 area matches, and then I would push to a lot of level twos and kind of just explore and kind of see different parts of the country. So that was always fun for me. It was kind of I would pick a different state to go to,
Right.
and that would be the 3-day weekend.
Yeah, those 3-day weekends are quite nice. If you to be honest, because you can go, you shoot a match, come back, and then.
Mm-hmm.
But area matches, they seem like they take forever. Like the time investment alone is ridiculous on most area matches now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then I don't know. And then with the current times, you kind of have to start asking the question where you'll start seeing some level twos or outlaw matches that are just the same caliber as an area match, but run a little bit better, or they're not as, notorious.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I regret not going to Dragons Cup. I remember Camden giving me shit about going, and I'm like, dude, I just can't make that weekend work.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really early in the year too. It's like April or May or something. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I want to think it was Mother's Day or last year it was Mother's Day. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But when you're a plumber who could kind of make his own hours and just be gone, I mean, it's I guess that's good for him.
He's going crazy right now. I think I'm, I'm actually surprised he hasn't just tried to do every area match. I feel like he should try to CRO every area match and get like a CRO patch, like the CRO, like legend CRO patch or something.
That would be good. That's a big drive. He would definitely have to get a rental vehicle. because I would not drive that truck all across the country.
He got a little Nissan to go up to Maine last weekend, and he's like calling me. He's like, dude, it drives itself. I'm like, yeah, because it's not a big fucking truck, Camden.
It is. Yeah, that was pretty cool. He was telling me about that. It was very interesting until you hit dead spots and cell reception in Maine, and then you can't hear shit. But
it was all good.
It is all good. So, what did you enjoy the carnivalness of Area 3 until this last year?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It for me it would suck because I would be shooting as a staff. So you would shoot as a staff kind of cold and you would have no idea. And then you would watch the competitors shoot as you staffed it, and you're like, motherfuckers, that's a smart idea. Why didn't I think of that? Oh yeah, I didn't get to watch anybody do this. But there'd be some fun stuff. There would be kind of some pushes. The other cool thing about it is you kind of, everybody else will come shoot it in, minus the Friday guys or gals, will shoot it in a split schedule. So you kind of feel like you get a badge of completion if you can do it all one day, and then perform to standard for that whole day. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's definitely sometimes it's a big burden to shoot those bigger matches all in one day. Because would you guys have like 14 stages at Area 3?
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Yeah,
I think it was 14. This is the first year we didn't get rained on. That's what was weird. Like the years past, as a staff, we would always get rained on. So you should have, and it would rain midday, and they would have the barbecue truck come. Barbecue's great. When you're shooting, it's horrible match food. Like you're just sluggish.
Yeah, so. I would agree. That luckily enough, when we had Area 5, we didn't do barbecue at all. We had the never-ending river of ham sandwiches.
Ooh.
So like, what was it? The first day was ham, turkey, and like roast beef, and then every day after that was ham.
Yeah.
So it was like, from what? So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like 4 days of ham sandwiches, and we were like, this is a little old there, but it's all good there though. But
yeah,
but I mean, if it rained on you, you probably wouldn't have had heat exhaustion, right?
Yeah. Also, if I hadn't gone drinking the night before and forgotten to eat, well, I got in trouble. I got an ambush at the bar, and that was when we were ordering food. So right at the time we were ordering food, I got ambushed, and I was at that point I was kind of already pissed because this RO had gone behind and kind of bitched, and I don't mind fights. I don't mind arguing with people. It's kind of a day job, but man, going behind your back and being a little prissy bitch, I mean, shooter, kind of pisses me off. So they kind of confronted me at the bar and argued with me how I was wrong and what I did and X, Y, and Z for stopping a person that had a squib. And the person was trying to force their slide forward, by the way. They were like hitting the back of their slide. I waited until like 2 or 3 and I'm like, okay, we're done. We're going to stop. So it was just like, it was one of those events. It was like, you weren't there to make the call, but that got accosted. So we were drinking beers. I was touring a brewery, kind of doing the, hey, I could sell you machinery I could help you do machinery for your brewery kind of pitch. So I was kind of in another business mode. And they came up and accosted me, and I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna get raunchy here. So I kept drinking, and they all ordered food, and I didn't realize it. And I'm like, oh, I can make it. I've done this before. So, I get back to the hotel, pass out, wake up in the morning kind of late, ate real quick, got to the range, ran 2 squats, and then boom, I was down. So it was not really the best adventure.
Yeah. Then were you able to finish the rest of the match after you got on your feet?
Yeah, so I came back and wound up, they kind of just put me on babysitter duty. I kind of just hung out with Matt Hopkins pretty much the whole time, which is I love Hopkins. I've stalked Hopkins from a distance and up close. He smells really nice if you were ever curious. Yeah.
Does he smell like barbecue?
No, it's like fresh flowers.
Good to know.
But yeah. You gotta be quiet though. He knows about it now. People want to sneak up on him. But no, it's fun. So they kind of had me I went and ran a lot of errands or I helped set the prize tables. So I did a lot of the ancillary stuff, which is not usually I'm being a young CRO, they kind of throw you into the harder stage and they kind of just work you like a cheap mule. So it was kind of fun not to have to do that. Camden, on the other hand, had to do that. He was kind of grumpy.
Yeah. But he got to go fishing, so it's all good, right?
Yeah, that motherfucker fished every night. It was great.
Yeah, he don't care what y'all are doing. He's like, well, I'm not getting food. I'm gonna go fish.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't drink either, so it's like going out to the bars. Like he'll have a beer in public and all that, but he's not really. He doesn't drink in his free time.
Hmm.
So, but for him, a good time is hanging out or fishing.
Yeah, gotta go fishing.
We're talking about how many new open guns he's gonna buy.
Well, it's that plumber money, man.
It's some type of money.
Yeah, $20 is $20, they say, right?
Hey, I hear that man can play some pipe. That's all I know.
Exactly. You guys take that for what it is, right?
No, seriously, the man can lay pipe really well. I went to a job site. He can really do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least he he gets paid for it, I guess, right? So are you still planning on with the new people taking over Area 3, are you gonna still work the match?
I probably won't. So this year's kind of been my last year to kind of go work matches and be kind of heavy.
Hmm.
The wife and I are having our first kid in November, so I realized my commitments between the business, between doing automation or auto drives, and then having kids, and then somehow I got to have time to spend with my wife, and then have some time in between there to go shoot. It's kind of where do I balance my time?
Hmm.
So it's been kind of hard. It's I've been used to doing like 18-hour days where I'll go run out and I'll wake up, go to work, get off, run to the range, come home, spend time with the wife, then maybe do 6 more hours into something else.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be an interesting shift. So I don't know if I'm gonna work it. I'll probably work more level twos. Kind of, I was gonna go explore some ones I haven't been to, or I've been too busy, or they kind of landed on the weekend before another big match. So I'm probably gonna go kind of do a little more exploring that way. Um, that's kind of my plans. I wanted to go explore. I wanted to go check out Maxi Agrandis's two gun league he's putting on in St. George. That's kind of something that's on my list of things to go do in 2023. So
yeah, that does look pretty enticing. I know a couple people who are in with him on that, and it's pretty cool. I haven't really looked at the rule set much, other than he is the top rifle PCC shooter in the world. So
yeah, but he's super chill. You would think someone with his credentials and accolades that he would be a little, he'd be more in his own bubble. But he's super chill, really approachable, pretty nerdy to be frank, and that's coming from me. Um, so
yeah, you could call that nerdy or passionate. Either way, it's how people portray it, right?
yeah, kind of comes down to whatever your nerd boner is.
Right. Well, my wife, she'll call me addicted to doing the podcast or like practical shooting, and it's like I'm not addicted. I'm just passionate. Damn it. And it's what takes up my time. But it's better to do this than like snorting lines of coke or something, or being on a bender. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna have to stop you in the middle of this. Some conversation with Mr. Nick Gross, and I gotta tell you about some of these awesome sponsors and some discount codes I want to pass on to you. So don't forget, guys, if you want the best belt in the business, go over to dominatedefense.com. Go get yourself a Mach 1 speed belt combo because they're fantastic, great. They're gonna outlast any inner outer belt traditional belt for 4 or 5 times its life. So if you're going through a belt a year, guess what? You're gonna go 4 years to 5 years with this Dominate Defense. So don't worry about it going bad like a double alpha or a CR speed or any other traditional belt. So use Manny Talks 10 and get 10% off your entire order when you buy yourself a Mach 1 speed belt combo. Don't forget also to go to divtechshop.com and use the code Manny Talks Shooting. Get 10 or 20%. I don't know. I still haven't looked and I've been lazy about it. So go over there and get yourself a 3D printed mag pouch because you need it and they're awesome. And you can get pretty much any color under the rainbow. And if Nathan likes you and you ask him in the comments, he might even make you a custom magnet cap. Does whatever you want. So anyways, guys, go check them out. And I want to thank you for watching and listening and making it to this point in the episode because we're about halfway through. But don't forget, we're going to get back into this awesome conversation with Mr. Nick Gross.
When was your first? Is this your first year, or did you start in 2021? I'm trying to remember when your first episode was.
Oh, all right. Well, hold on. Power of the internet.
I'm curious.
It'll tell me quickly because I have good internet here. All right. So if anyone actually remembers or cares, the first episode came out. Oh God, we gotta scroll. That came out. No. All right. Hold on. We'll figure it out. I'll tell
Do that. Keep going. I'm gonna. Just realized something.
It was February of 21. That's what it was. February 7th of 2021. So if anyone cares, it's been doing it for over a year and some change. So we're almost on year 2. So it's kind of exciting. So
That's awesome.
you
So
know,
no, go ahead.
no, and it's just been cool because the first episode was with one of my best friends, and it kind of just grew from there. And it's very cool to see the growth too. Like, because the analytics now are so good compared to like they were, even podcasting if people were podcasting a couple years ago, like the analytics are so huge now. It's crazy.
Well, like I love your podcast because I'll do a script. I'll do a download because I can't take anything that transmits into where my desk is at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take I'll download it and I'll take it with me on a floppy disk because that's the only thing I can get for security. And
they still make floppy disks.
Yeah.
Okay. That.
Yeah.
Some people don't know what the fuck that is, but
it's life. Like I literally have to take my watch off, and this is like a dumb watch. So yeah, I'm eventually gonna start strip checking. It'll still be great. I'll give them a $5 bill every time. It'll be great.
Yeah.
But I'll take your podcast and I'll just listen to it because I'll be in the middle of something. I'll pause whoever you're interviewing, and I'll do a quick focus on what I'm doing, and then I'll dive back into the podcast. So I feel like I can pause and start. I can stop and start really cleanly, but I can follow. I kind of like. I really enjoy that. It's very, I feel like I'm gaining a grain of knowledge from whoever you're interviewing. But also in the same breath, it's something that allows my brain to kind of wander on something that's not as boring as figuring out like load calculations for a swinging mass or something.
Right. Yeah. And what I've been told, some people can tell me or not, but it's like they're still in the room with me too, with the other guy, with the conversation. So it's kind of like just some two dudes drinking beers and just bullshitting. So which is cool for me. But like today, like if anyone actually cares, this is being recorded on 9/8/2022. My episode that I did with Brian Conley on his podcast, that went live as of today. So it's kind of cool. People have been talking to me about that show as well, and it's nice, being able to do some of that shit. But
that's so cool, though. That's kind of that journey or that path you may have not predicted a year ago or 2 years ago when you started this journey. I mean, shit, I didn't think I would have. Well, I have a rule of only 2 automated presses at one time. Once I get the 2, I sell one off, or I'm doing something else. But I never thought I would have two auto drives on my bench, or I would have shipped 10 or 15 of them in a weekend. So I never would have fathomed the ability to do that, and then be confident in the product I'm deploying. So
yeah, exactly. And it's you never see where your one idea turns into the long processed journey on it, and because everyone always says, "Oh, I can't think I'd never do that," or I'll never be there. Just one foot in front of the other, right?
Just solve little problems, big problems. The other weird thing for me is, like last night I was on a phone call for an hour and a half with a gentleman, and the amount of people that'll call me and say, "Hey, I'm working on this project. It's kind of edge case. I don't know what I'm doing here or here. What are your recommendations?" So we'll walk through it, and I'll point them in a direction, or I'll say, "Well, check this out," or I'll just shoot me some more details, and I'll do a 5-second napkin map for you, and I'll shoot them back to them, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's the missing piece," and I'll never hear from them again. But I kind of like, up to this point, it's been a lot more fun to have these people that want to include me or ask for help or kind of show their journeys too, and it's been a lot of fun. That's been the unexpected thing for me. So
right, yeah, and those are always fun, and being able to help people is always nice too, even though they think that that they're not worth the time, but it's always cool.
My phone number's pretty available. I'm not gonna tell people where to find it, but it's pretty available if anybody wants to call me. No dick pics, please. It's kind of weird to explain.
I mean, unless you're Venmoing you some money, right? Or cash out. I was like, you got to pay me for the dick pic.
Isn't that prostitution?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, Cannon gets a cut. He is my pimp.
I mean, if you have an OnlyFans, it's fine, right?
I'm gonna turn things with a wrench without a shirt on.
There's Well, there was always a joke of like, I'm gonna go be a stripper, but you're gonna pay me to keep my clothes on. Unless you start paying me, clothes are coming off.
I was going to be the ugly stripper that made the more attractive ugly stripper more hot. We're going to split the tips. I was going to be the fluffer for the titty club.
Oh, there you go.
That was the plan. Oh my God. I'm a problem solver at heart.
Right. Well, you got to. I mean, if it doesn't get the brain going, it's not it's not worth it, right?
Well, like shit. Speaking of titty clubs, we were having steaks, not related, nothing PG-13 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
We were sitting there eating after a match, and this club had the best burritos ever. And I'm just sitting there enjoying the food. The other guys are there enjoying other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there talking to this guy I shot with, and he goes, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Man, they must be cleaning these poles pretty often because those are pretty slick." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Man, those are tall. I don't see them get a ladder out there." He goes, how would you clean them?" I'm like, "Man, I would like have a little Roomba. I would have a little stripper Roomba that would Roomba up and down. It would." And he's just like, "Wow, we're in a titty club, and you just figured out how to put a robe on the stripper pole." And it's but God, that was out of nowhere fun. That was a fun match. That was a fun match too. And then the story of us going to a titty club after shooting a match was even funnier.
Right. Well, especially for the food, right? It's not even for the it wasn't even for the strip.
No, I mean, I'm all about helping. I'm all about helping people out. It's a single mother's fundraiser, so you just write off in your taxes that way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But shit. Well, now I'm thinking about a stripper pole Roomba. Would it go up in the ceiling when you're not using it then, or did it stay near the ground?
I don't know. So here's the weird question as we bring this up, because it's like I didn't put much more thought to it after that, because I was like, this is getting bad. But would you have it like, would you have one that would clean all the poles, or would you have one for every pole? So the businessman, you would say one for every pole. But there's nasty stripper juices on there, so you got to clean.
Yeah.
You got to clean that. You got to clean it somehow. So probably gotta sell something else to clean it. So I bet you got to have two: one to clean the pole, and one to clean itself. So 6 stripper poles, you sell 12 units. Man, look at that.
Look at that. And then you got to have the spare one because one's gonna break.
Yeah, you got the kamikaze one, and then so that'd be the Gen 1s. So the Gen 2s, you would have like an inflatable mannequin or something, so people don't know it's a robot. They'll think it's like it's part of the show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We'll call it the Titatron. God,
Better start patting that shit. Better start drawing that up. Next project.
I'm good. That's free for anybody that wants that. The Titatron, though, that's the only thing I ask, because you got to have a clever name in it.
Right. Well, it's got to have good names, right?
Well, that's the fun part about being an engineer. Your kind of design side, when you come up with shit, you can kind of call it whatever you want. But like the 750 and 650 automation, I was playing with names for it. So I was going to call it something, and I was sitting there playing with names. I kind of would go to local matches and I would show it off, and I would use a different name at different matches for it to see how it resonated with people or what type of looks I would get. So I originally wanted to call it the Power Base, because it was a base system you put under your press, and it drove it. And I had this old guy came up, he goes, "You know what a Power Base is?" I'm like, "What this machine is?" And he goes, "Nah, it's what you call a man and a woman having a good time." I'm like, fuck. Damn. Well, and I was looking at logos, and I was gonna do the fist raising up a bullet, and then Black Lives Matter happened, and that's their logo. And I'm like, well, I can't do that now, because they have that trademark, and I don't want to touch that.
Right.
But
so do you ever come up with a new name, or you just kind of scrapped a name for now then?
I've settled on calling it Auto Base. So it kind of transcends everything. It kind of plays on people that call their stuff the auto drive or automation. So I call it Auto Base. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing.
Yeah.
So I don't really care what people call it. We'll probably get its own moniker eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe honestly, the reality is Brian Connolly will probably come up with something out of nowhere, and that's what'll stick. It'll be great.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Now that was hilarious watching you guys drive to Area 3, getting passed by Brian in his big old van.
Shit. You saw the video where Camden did the glasses, like the Hunter's HG Gold? That was the third time we took that video. Like the first time we did, the glasses fell off, and I just started laughing my ass off. There were so many blooper reels. Like we were trying.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was great. And then, I mean, he scared the crap out of me. I canned his phone. So there's a picture where he's like sitting there sideways out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Camden's phone outside the door as I was doing it. He blew the air horn just as he did that. And Cam's like, "You better not drop my phone." It was pretty great. I wish we could have recorded Brian's face after that, because his face was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," but I'm glad I did.
Exactly, right?
But
Yeah.
yeah.
That van is legit. That van is pretty damn gnarly. It's got freaking everything you need in it, other than the stripper pole.
I well, yeah, I feel like a stripper pole at a gun match is a bad idea. I there's a lot of single young men out there that have peacocking issues. So you just never know.
I mean, but it does throw them off their game if there was a stripper pole.
Oh yeah, I would totally wear booty shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, locally around here, that's all it seems some of the dudes are wearing are like these like 4-inch inseam shorts, and it's like you just make sure all that stays in there while you're shooting there, bud.
You're like, now I know I shoot PCC. Like,
Right?
no, that's mean.
Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with PCC. We were joking around. I think it was around Area 5. We had the start position was like proudly holding your flaccid PCC, and then we were like, well, how would you proudly be holding a flaccid PCC? And then what was the definition of flaccid? And then we're like, oh, we are so messed up. And this was like on like a night after the match. I was just like, where do we come up with this shit? Why are we all demented?
Yeah. Well, it sounds weird. I actually hate when I go to matches and they have PCC stages where it's like 50-yard shots or stand in one spot and shoot all the targets. I don't like those stages. I really like shooting the close quarter where you're having to move in and you're pushing and you're kind of always transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's what's really fun about a pistol, having a carbine at a pistol match, is that CQB kind of push, shoot, move, take it. How fast can you really pull that trigger but get good hits and kind of move? And that's really the fun part of PCC for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was shooting production, I was kind of getting to that point, but it was just getting harder to control the gun at that. And that's when PCC became legal and I made the jump. Actually, I blame Greg again for that, but that's really fun for me. And that's what was really kind of fun about this last Area 3 was it was not, there wasn't giveaway long targets, but there wasn't like all CQB. It was like this balance, and it was really a lot of fun to shoot. It was a really fun match that was kind of lets you work a lot of different skill groups.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, Matt did a really good job. I mean, it was pretty cool because all of the targets were the same target. They were all IPSCs. So
Yeah.
you didn't have to worry about different targets or anything. The only weird stage I thought was kind of interesting was the one with the stomp box, as you're running like between the walls and you got to shoot the stomp box for the dropper.
I was a dumbass that entire match because I have this weird fetish. I'm gonna call it a fetish for I have to shoot everything. I have to, even if it's a no penalty mic, I'm gonna shoot it. And I had 2 or 3 stages that would have been really well if I had just done the no penalty mics. In like that drop box, I engaged that array and I had a little bit of a pause in my move. And when I hit the stomp box, I shot the 2 farther, and then I jumped to the turn and I jumped to the others. If I just ignored it and went da 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 da, just stopped, the no penalty mics, the score would have not been, obviously would have not been the match points, but I still would have, from a stage percentage point of view, been really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
that's a problem with shooting staff too. If you think about it, like you don't see all the options, or you can't really do all the math. It's just like I guess what makes sense to that. It's gonna stick, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of that. For me, I don't think I've ever shot a match where there's that many no penalty mics. It's kind of weird. It was kind of so there was a lot to grow from that. That was one of my takeaways. There was like 2 others, but there's a lot more victories at this match for me than there were defeats. So
right. That is pretty cool. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So I kind of lost my train of thought, but I'm gonna find something to talk about here. But it's it's what it is, right? Just long as I don't have that long silent pause, the listeners don't hate it. So they'll just listen to me ramble about something. It's better than not talking at all. But So you're talking you shot some level 2s, like so I'm assuming you shot like what? Not Iowa, but the Kansas City Free State match, I'm assuming at some point.
I've done Free State before. I've shot Oklahoma. I've done Arkansas a few times. Been to Iowa. Been to Michigan, Illinois. I would like to go do Tennessee and Kentucky. It's kind of my next list. So it's been like a circle. It's been that circle of 6 hours from Missouri. It's kind of been my range at the moment. So.
Well, yeah, and it's quite nice. You're not that far from anything. You just have to get over the river, right?
God, gotta get through St. Louis.
Yeah.
Fun place.
Well, it was funny enough when right before Area 5 is when Camden was leaving, and there was that massive flood there at St. Louis, and he's like, took me an hour to get to the highway when it's 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, shit. I was at work at that point. So that road that flooded. That's my way to work. And I was in the office, and my manager came in and goes, "Hey, guess what? We're closing work today." I'm like, "Why? There's a flood." I'm like, "Where?" And I look, I'm like, "That wasn't there like 40 minutes ago." And he goes, "Well, you got to go home." I'm like, "I can't. I'm gonna stay here and work." So, which was great because we were doing munition testing that day. So I just went to the live fire range. We were detonating some 35 millimeter. So it was pretty fun. There was no one there. Well, there was all the safety. I was following all the safety rules.
Right.
So
that's pretty cool. So without giving away anything about your job, have you seen a lot of cool shit that you can't talk about?
What's cool to me is not really cool to a lot of people. I could, probably one of the things that's more in the public space that I get to see a little bit is with the Artemis rocket that hasn't been able to launch yet. So my team is a part of that in some way, shape, or form. And that's one of our facets. I'm kind of pimped out across 4 or 5 programs since I'm kind of a rare animal in a controlled area. But one of the things there is kind of the skyline for that rocket. So that rocket today is going to go around the moon, and in 2035 it's going to go to Mars, and in 2045 it's going to go to Titan. So kind of looking at systems like that, how do you do long-term space travel and space exploration, everything that goes along with that? How do you introduce more automated systems and robots and building systems on other planets that have to, not be a fucking piece of shit, and doing stuff like that. And there's the military side of things that I do. So there's a lot of people know about drones. So I could just say drones, and people could visualize that, and I could say you're wrong. And there's a lot of that. I don't know. It's kind of a fine line. It's a lot of fun stuff. Solve interesting problems for people that just write blank checks. Is kind of a fun life to be in at the moment. I've worked for a lot of cheap companies where being the engineer meant you had to really like lie, beg, borrow, and steal to solve the problem. So.
Yeah, but kind of working for the government, getting that kind of blank check is probably pretty nice.
You sell your soul, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't we already do, because we already work for a living, right?
Yeah. But when I worked for a foreign military when I was a government contractor, and it was kind of fun to sit there and watch. The government was buying the product to give to the foreign military. The foreign military was paying our government to give them. And I'm like in the middle there as a contractor. I'm just like, this is like one giant goat screw. I mean, that was great.
That is kind of cool. But yeah, so kind of tying it back down to, your automation, what part of your automation system are you most proud of currently, I should say?
Yeah, so what system you want to talk about? Because I would say the 1050 1100 and the 750 650 are 2 different animals. One's a liger, one's a tiger. But the thing I would say I'm the most proud of at the moment, the current thing, is that the software, the code that controls both machines is the same. And it's a self-learning code. It's the way it's coded. It's a self-learning system. You teach it a lot of parameters, but as you're running or loading it, it's teaching itself. So predominantly from a software update point of view, my end goal with this is that the things that I would roll as a software update in the future is to be, maybe there's a new bell and whistle we're going to add. We're going to, maybe instead of using a camera or lasers, we're going to use maybe compressed sound waves to read your case length. Maybe we're going to do stuff like that in the future. And and I'll do software updates that cope inside that. But more or less, the only other things we'll be correcting are potential safety concerns or things that bubble up. John Wezzo in South County, wherever in the world, that found a way to break through one of our safety protocols, and we have to correct that patch. But the system itself will be self-learning. So if you load a lot of 380 Super, and you're loading that, and all of a sudden the system sees a deviation from what you've loaded over the past 20,000 or 40,000 rounds, to throw a flag and say, hey, there's something wrong with this piece of brass. Because I know that you've loaded this many rounds that all look the same or within this range. This is different. Why don't you take a look at it? And that's really the cool part about the code. And it applies that across the whole board. Startup's a little interesting. So obviously it's like a kid in elementary school. You got to teach them how to add and subtract. But once they get to high school, they understand how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm the most proud of. Obviously, you've seen it. A lot of people have seen it, but if you haven't, I actuate the 750 650 with a ball screw. And the cool thing about that is all the force that generates is going linearly with the RAM. There's no offset load. So other brands or other approaches to automating those systems, they'll force to actuate the press. It's an off-center load. So you're constantly binding the RAM against the casting. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make sense. And that's really cool. Yeah. As soon as you teach it to add, it's going to do it forever, right?
It's been kind of cool. I've been having some teething issues with teaching people how to understand what the buttons are asking. Like I had someone that didn't understand, if you put in your rounds, you need to say how fast you want the machine to go. They thought that was like a dwell time. And then I laughed and I said, there's a whole other menu. And he's like, whoa, I didn't know this was there. I'm like, did you not read the manual? And he goes, well, I was going to figure it out. And I'm like, oh, fucker, just read. I made YouTube videos. It's like, go do this.
Right. Now, how thick is your manual though?
Oh God, 11 pages.
Oh, come on. There's no excuse, people. 11 pages.
Well, and let's caveat this. So what's detracted? The front page is me saying, hey, you can't sue me because the reloading press is made not by me. I make the automation. And then some other little high level safety stuff, the disclaimers. And then the last 5 pages are where you can spec your own stuff. So if you were to break the ball screw and you didn't want to call me to send your replacement parts, I give all the specs of what you can spec out, and I give you 4 or 5 vendor references to go to, so you could replace those if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing outside the code I'm using is special. I mean, obviously the mounting plates and some of the coupling stuff, the steel parts are, but any of the the motors, the pulleys, the belts, the bearings, the ball screw, there's nothing special. It's a part you can get off Amazon or eBay or McMaster-Carr or anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my guiding principle on this, is that you, the user, can have the right to repair this. If you want to figure it out and fix it, you have all the power to do that. And I'm very available to help with that. But that's kind of my goal. And then I have a wiring schematic. So the electrical, if you want to play, magician with some wires in the back, I kind of make it all available.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like it's kind of like Linux, but with an auto drive.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
I don't want to publish the code there's 2 parts of it. There's if I let the code out, then that truly opens the gates to anybody to kind of do this. They don't really need me to make the auto drive anymore.
Right.
But in the same breath, it opens the gates to those who might go make their own auto drives and sell them for a nickel more than I do, or a nickel less. And they may not understand exactly what's going on. And then all of a sudden I have someone call me and go, hey, I bought auto drive V whatever. I didn't sell you one. They're like, well, it says this and it works like your videos. So that's kind of a safety concern for me there, because my name's very embroiled in this.
Right. Yeah. And you got to protect your intellectual property too,
Yep. So, there's that scenario. That being said, though, update wise, I flow updates out. Those will be available to pull. So I have different generations. The HMI updates too. I'm probably going to get to a point where I'll have 4 or 5 HMI offerings. So if you wanted certain features, like you just want to do brass processing, there'll be a brass processing code logic. So if you're not going to load ammo and you just want the machine to clunk and chunk, you don't need the camera, you don't need other things. There can be a simpler code to use. So you can kind of make the machine whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the goal.
And that's actually pretty cool, because some people would have 2 machines, one for processing just brass and one for actually loading ammo.
Yeah. And that's kind of the secret to precision ammo. Right now, what I'm seeing with my 750 650 is a plus minus 2 thousandths of tolerance between rounds, and that's overall length.
Mhm.
And that's me measuring with my really cheap $20 Grassland calipers. So I bet it's a little wider tolerance. But the real goal of the auto drive is to eliminate you, the user, but also create this sudden create a consistency in your reloading. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're no longer, did I jerk the press so much that I knocked powder out of it? Or did I not shoot that primer all the way because I was in a hurry listening to a podcast? So, the auto drive provides conformality and all that. That's probably
Yeah.
one of the biggest misconceptions I get from people is that they think they're going to buy automation and they're going to walk away from their machine.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
And you can walk away. I know what these machines sound like. I'm not gonna say I dream about them, but I know what they sound like. But with the camera and all that, you can trust it. It's not going to crush an upside down bullet. But you don't want to leave the room. There's a safety aspect of this too. But the idea is you could be case gauging, you could be filling primer tubes, you could be filling components, you could be doing a lot of other things during that time period, or you could be doing dry fire. So there's a lot of positives to the automation.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
actually, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, so actually the industry term for this it's called semi-automation. That's the actual industry term where you have a machine that does 75% of the workload and you leave a quarter of the workload for the user operator. So that's feeding or unloading or signing or checking off or entering numerical data.
Hmm.
So it's like a blender. Put
Yeah.
food in a blender and turn it on.
You get a smoothie.
Yeah. Hey, we can call this the blender. That's a good name.
Yeah. That's also
No,
probably like a dating app for individuals or something like that too.
I bet it is. I bet it's like a Mormon dating app or something.
There you go. Yeah, it's like the Mormon dating app version of Grinder or something, right?
Wow, you're crossing all the boundaries.
Hey, it's my podcast. I can do what I want, right?
Yeah, but so that's the cool thing. The 1050 1100s are, I think I have a lot of videos of those with giant 3D printed gears.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I started. And what I realized was it was easier for me to do a direct coupler. And that's actually what I've spent the past month doing is pulling back everybody that bought the 3D printed gear, 3D printed gears. I've been replacing them with the direct drives. So there's a little bit of a cost to that, but it's not really a lot for them. I'm really charging them merely shipping the cost of, 1 hour, 1 hour. I'm billing them for an hour of my time, and then I bill them for the components. So it's really not a lot
Hmm.
to do a full rebuild on those, and that's going to be the new standard is the direct drive. The 3D printed gears are sexy, but it's there's a warranty side or a long time. There's a how do I put it? There's a question mark. Am I going to destroy a gear?
Hmm.
Or am I going to get a primer in one of the gear teeth paths and have a detonation, which I'll tell you if it has occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, that longevity of those 3D printed gears,
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you know, besides your own machine, do you know what the most rounds on a machine on one of your auto drives is?
I have one system. Well, so I have 42 units in the field. Um, so I don't. I only have a few of them that I'll reach out and say, how many rounds you got? What are you doing? What type of loads are you doing? So I have one system that I sold quite a few years back that has about 75 to 80,000 rounds through it. I have a gentleman who uses it for brass processing, and he's doing full length rifle, doing rifle and cut down, and he's probably punched at least upwards of 110, 130,000 through it. These systems aren't commercial systems, and so that's the interesting thing to hear these numbers or hear people that have run the drive like well shit. I have a gentleman that's really a great guy, but I shipped him a direct drive 2 weeks ago, and he's already pumped 15,000 rounds for it.
Hmm.
So and that's kind of the tack. A lot of people will hit the ground running really fast and load a lot of ammo, and they'll sit idle, they'll jump back. So right now, I would say across the board, just the shooters and the amount of components that are out in the world, I would say the average one of the drives is floating between 15 to maybe 40,000 with some outliers.
Hmm.
So
Well, that's pretty cool. It must be exciting for you now to see how many rounds are on your machines and getting the numbers
yeah.
and the data off of them. Now, is there a way? I'm assuming there's got to be something where they report back to you wirelessly, I'm assuming.
Nope.
No?
I don't. No, I have this weird fetish for. That's my word for the night. It works for everything. To start using in your day for things, and people look at you like you don't know what the definition is. Like I derive enjoyment. So that's a fetish.
Right.
No, I don't like. I believe it's wrong to send a system out that's going to have a wireless or an uploading feature to it. I predominantly like to have a handshake. So I like to call the person or text them or maintain that relationship and say, hey, how many rounds you got going? Can you go to this page and just tell me what you have? Can you type this password in real quick and tell me what the output is? I don't really from a privacy point of view want a system that can upload or download without it being hardwired. So for instance, when you do a code update, you're physically plugging in a USB port to your computer to update the system. The ammo box is really compact, so it's not the end of the world. But from a safety point of view or a privacy point of view, that's there. But from a commercial reloading machine or a private reloading machine, adding Wi-Fi or anything that transmits or receives runs a lot of potential for creating a failure point for the system from electronics point of view. Anytime you introduce a lot of electrons into a control structure. So I just kind of chose the easy button.
Right, and that makes sense too, though. Because if it could kill the whole system, it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
For the ease of maybe uploading an update, but if it's the the Achilles heel of the system, why risk it, right?
Right. And predominantly last year been a lot of ground chewing with how do we do updates, how do we communicate, do the workflow. A lot of evenings of conversations where I'm explaining you plug the USB in, you go to your computer and hit download. Stuff like that. But, predominantly kind of that workflow is going, but the code itself is stable. Scenarios that we found in the past that would trip it up or safety concerns, we've kind of teed through a lot of those. So, and predominantly the future of this will be that the latest code will be on the website. So you can pull what you want and put up there. Or if you don't necessarily want this new feature, you could just stay with the code setting you have. So there's a lot of options.
That is a lot of options. That's really cool. That is really cool. Nick, I do want to thank you for hopping on today. It's been fun. And I've learned a lot, especially about a lot of different things besides the automation. It's always been good.
Yeah.
Is there any final words you'd like to leave with the listeners?
What else? I'm always available. What I post on Instagram through B Team or on YouTube is kind of just showing what I'm doing, what I'm kind of working through. So I kind of just like people to enjoy what I'm working on. Love that people love the system, but a lot of people have asked when I'm going to sell it through Instagram, and the way this will be sold is not going to be through Instagram. So constantly asking me if they can buy it through Instagram is probably not the best avenue. So I'll probably recommend the listeners.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Now, is there any people who support you or you want to give some shout outs to before we get off here?
Honestly, obviously we talked about Camden a lot, so Camden's there. Eric Steiner at Range Panda is awesome. Him and I chew and talk about a lot of different subjects and projects and approaches. He's great. Vince Hall at Stone Ridge Guns. He has one of my systems, so he's a great mentor. I've talked to him a lot. A great customer. Jared Clanton's great to talk to. Timmy Tanfolk's great. And, just kind of a lot of people that are kind of professional shooters I'll talk to or reach out or talk about the system. Brian Conway is trying to get me to do automate his Lee Loadmaster. I think one of these days I might just get drunk one night and say yes. So if he's watching this, so for me, it's a village that's helped build the system, and I just want to thank that.
Yeah, it is awesome, and those guys they're definitely awesome to spark some ideas for you and get you down these rabbit holes and make you think about different things
or tell me not to do something
and then you do it anyway because no one tells me I can't do shit, right?
Now you know how the case gauger came about.
Exactly. And where'd you say they could find you again, Nick?
Right now predominantly my public face is gonna be on Instagram under B Team Engineering. So
right on. Well, yeah, that's where you can find Nick there at B Team Engineering. Don't ask him about buying one quite yet, probably, or be nice, or figure out nice ways to get what you want, but don't push too hard because you'll probably get a big no. But it's all good. But Nick, like I said, thanks for coming on, brother. It's been fun.
Yeah.
We've had a good time. We'll have to do this again at some point too.
That'll be fun. Good to see you.
It is. Until next time, guys, get out and do things, and I'll see you on the next one.